Ephesians 6:12, there's several different translations that translate this word quite differently. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the, what does your Bible say? Some say principalities, some say rulers. The actual word, I can't pronounce the word, but the actual Greek word means origin. Now, let me read you where this word shows up again. And you're going to say, what are you talking about? Philippians 4:15, Paul writes, for you yourself also know, Philippians, that at the first preaching of the gospel. The words first preaching, those two words first preaching, are actually the one Greek word, origin. Okay, you're like, what are you talking about? Paul is talking about dimensions of wickedness. Are you following me? And he says that our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but it's against, and then he begins to talk about 6 dimensions of different types of demons that actually war against your soul. And by the way, I don't think demons are actually warring against Christians. I think principalities are. I think it's world forces of darkness are actually, the world forces of darkness are the types of spirits that resist world changers. I think demons mess with non-Christians. But I think world forces of darkness mess with world changers. Are you with me? So Paul is not talking about low-level demons here. He's talking about forces that resist history makers. This first one is, in my translation, New American Standard, is called rulers, but it's actually the word origin, and Paul uses the word origin when he says to the Philippians, when I first preached to you. In other words, when I laid the foundations of the origins of God. Are you with me? Origin is actually a spirit that actually questions the origins of God's nature. For instance, evolution is questioning the origin of man. Homosexuality is questioning the sexuality of man. I could go on and on. What I'm getting at is, you think things like, when is a baby a baby? In our country, in many states, you can still abort a 3rd trimester fetus. Think about this now. Now we have 3-dimensional sonograms. People, scientists who want to tell us about the origins of mankind are looking at a fetus in the 3rd trimester on a 3D sonogram and are telling you that that's not human. That the laws of man in America, our Constitution protects only humans, and that's not a human. Therefore, we should not protect that because that's not a baby, that's a fetus. Now, if you give birth to it, it's a baby. But if you abort it, it's a fetus. Now, how many of you know that some of the brightest minds in America believe that's not a baby? Including the Supreme Court. Now, when you engage people who are brilliant, and you would trust them, probably, abortion doctor, you might trust that doctor with, operating on another part of your body. And that brilliant doctor suddenly engages in a conversation that is not logical, with the same confidence that he would talk to you about your appendix needing to be taken out. And you're like, okay, see that sonogram right there? That looks like a baby. No, that's a fetus. Do you know why what seems illogical to you seems logical to them? Because we're not talking about logic and reason. We're talking about a spirit called origin that actually re-preaches a different gospel and convinces really, really smart people. I'm not talking about the fact that they're stupid. Really smart people think really dumb things in the name of science, not because they're stupid, but because they're under a spirit, a spell called origin. A boy with a penis, with a DNA that says he's a boy, thinks he's a girl. I understand. We have to have compassion for people, counseled many people like that. No condemnation and no guilt. But now we say, well, that's logical. The reason why we think that's logical is because of a spirit called origin. Origin makes illogical things seem really logical to very intelligent people. A person standing in front of a mirror at 70 pounds, a full-grown 30-year-old woman, 70 pounds in front of the mirror, looks into the mirror. I've had this happen in my office, and swears she's overweight. Swears she's overweight. She's not lying. She's a perfect track record of being honest. But she looks at the mirror, I'm looking at the same mirror, and swears she's overweight. You know why? Because of Origin. Origin has twisted what she sees. What you see isn't what she sees. And what totally seems illogical from the outside feels totally logical. Not because people are stupid and not because they're evil, but because they're under a spirit that's called Origin that has re-preached creation. And you cannot preach people. No, let me say it different. You cannot rationalize people into logic and reason. Follow me. I'm going to finish. I'm about to say something different than you might think I'm saying. Who are under that spirit in that particular place. Now, you can rationalize with them in every other place where that spirit's not influencing them. You can have a very rational argument with them. You can have very rational dialogue. In fact, you almost think, well, this person's so rational that certainly they must have facts for this. They don't have facts for that. They have a spirit that's actually representing a different story of creation. And I want to be honest, it feels really real. So of course they would defend it to the death because they're very intelligent, wise people, and many of them are very integrous people who want to do the right thing. So we don't condemn them or those terrible people, they're so crazy. No, I'm saying if you've ever been under the influence of a spirit, and I just told you that I was for 3.5 years, things that seem really illogical to other people seem very logical to you. And you can explain them to other people, and people will shake their heads, and when you come out of it and you look back, you're like, oh my God, what did I believe? But you're in the middle of it, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels very logical.